possibly the explanation is simpler than I would like it to be. But one of the West Coast, um, somewhat powerful locally black individuals defending the postal union who murdered three Kennedys was absolutely enraged that I believed I was in some way um, depicting a deeper affinity of our civics when I testified that while I was being kicked in the head as a child by a gang of armed adult Klansmen outside Vento's Pizza, two much younger black boys came out at great risk to themselves to help me. They chased the gang off, made sure I was okay, and wondered what in the world was going on. He invented this idea that I was somehow inverting the paradigm about black people for academic gain because a white couldn't possibly just be showing gratitude. I'm puzzled um, a little bit by the way that the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill paraded Kendricks across my path in Seattle last week because I know Hop and have always admired him. But then it occurred to me one of the luscious treats that Warhol always has in store for their prey, which is what I am. I'm a victim of serial terrorism, is that the prey does not know who it is who's actually stalking them until the time to take off the Marvel Comics villain mask and laugh in their face. And I asked myself, could Hop Kendricks have been in on all of this from the beginning? There are a couple of indications that the linguistic code that they used referred to Hop. We had when Ichiro showed up, a video Hop run by a man named Masashi, which had loads of Japanese women in various positions. It was pornography annexed to the store. Video Hop was one. Another was a Miles Kirshner who has been a pedophile attorney for pedophiles, who brutally tortured me as a child from the beginning. Used to have a special role in his linguistic anthropology game called Trainwreck, where you would hop, and shout clear the tracks. So it occurred to me that when they used the neuroplasm and implanted soundtrack, Holding Me Hostage and Last House on the Left, they made with George Romero and his daughter as a child. And we're extruding it through, I was vomiting. I was shut out. It was 2 a.m. in the morning. Rain was pouring, and they were indoctrinating me with sarcasm. And Eisenstadt was a pit nurse. He went on to write speeches for Donald Trump. He was saying how he was contemptuous of everything, and not wanting to, subject people to this kind of sarcasm that was defamatory. I was resisting their demand that I say the first thing that came to my head because that Pittsburgh mentality is defamatory. So I would have been brainwashed to have this defamatory impacted enemy within, which you can see was a neurological implant. They had signs up on their office door. Milton's had one, neurotransmitters take a holiday. And they had somebody sleeping with a newspaper over his face. They put a bag over my face filled with paint thinner and battered me in the head. I was about 12 years old and kidnapped me and tortured me. And of course, I've known for a long time that the Pittsburgh Courier was helping the KKK do this. I saw the partnership between the Union heavies who were black and the ghoulish mafia of the steel mills. But I didn't realize that they were exterminators working together. I didn't understand how Pussy Ball operated yet. You can see it in the Telltale clip, their alliance. I certainly didn't think that Hop would be covering for the AIDS attack and COVID 19, which, if the case is true, he is. But covered with rain at 2 o'clock in the morning, crying out on the streets, I scrawled from seizures a comment about um, Elaine Langer and her boyfriend, who they would sit around playing games of pick the lock together. And he was a German kid named Dusseldorf, and they had this 7 foot tall, I mean, her name was Lainey, like Leni Riefenstahl. And they had a 7 foot tall black man who threatened to kill me if he wasn't allowed to sleep in my house before we moved in, which is Greek for what they were pulling with Pussy Ball. And Proctor's gang surrounded me at CCAC, and Penis Gabriel and Rosa Clemente came on to me with this girl, Rosa. And these were people I trusted. I'd advocated for Africa in the newspaper. Well, you know what they were setting up. Okay, they tortured me. They murdered Saoirse Kennedy. They raped her. They gunned down Donnie Chen. They murdered 2 more Kennedys when I tried to get back to them. I mean, it's a muck. It's mayhem. But they claimed the right to seize my assets because when I was a child, they brutally tortured me. And that makes me their property. You know, so the perpetrators in this scene, like I used to go to the powwows in Allegheny, Forest with Jeannie, and she would be attractive to people who were sensitive to the human family. She's a wonderful girl. Well, evidently the powwow people made some inquiries, and Vince Irene said, no, he is a possession of a pedophile gang who are making snuff films and include the Kennedys, and I have Martin Sheen to back me up. And so they had Martin Sheen to back them up. And so everybody was going to hands off. So the truth is that Martin Sheen is involved in the murder of Saoirse Kennedy. That's the simple truth. And he goes out and makes movies where he plays Bobby Kennedy or something, And that's how sick the snuff film pornography behind the genocide attack on Mount Desert Island really are. They play an old card sharp game of saying, well, we know someone who he slept with who wasn't satisfied by his deaf dildo. And they get the note that I wrote about Elaine Langer and Gutendorf was sent to the Courier because they were the ones who were insisting on knowing the truth. And I don't like that note. I know what it said, and I'm not going to repeat it. But if Coon-Kendricks wants to make it into a billboard, and we'll put it in downtown Seattle, that's for him to say. But I think the police should know that this note exists and that it's accurate and truthful, what they were exposing me to at the age of 13 years old. These adult lock pickers, were exposing me in the presence of a man who was 7 feet tall, who was threatening to kill me if he couldn't sleep in my house before we moved in. Which is Greek for the demand for virginity. It's a Gilgamesh operation from the Pittsburgh Steelers and stuff. And they murdered Alina Shaker because of something to do with Tupac Shaker. Nothing to do with me. Somebody put 2 packs of cigarettes and a gun smoke in my mailbox. So the postal union did something. And it was not just Randy Tantlicker broke into my house and poisoned me for Pittsburgh football. There was a special operator who was black himself named James Green from the Pittsburgh Steelers coming in and out of that apartment at the time because they wouldn't leave me alone. They demanded I open the door to my house and let them in. And this was all while Midori Goto was encouraging them to play act, that they were casing her. She was like, "Oh, Mr. Reagan, please help me because Jimmy's karma is coming for me." Evangelia Karmas. I wrote to the Rochester Institute for the Deaf about the whole thing. Evangelia Karmas, the avenging angel of karma, was one of their agents from Penis Gabriel's Real Worlds, working with the Communist Party of Italy, who were obviously forming Putin, Vladimir Putin, the impaler, right? And it's a Ouspensky network throughout the whole globe, centering on one story. The principal agent is Gail Carolyn Burston. And the NAACP is advocating for the people who started AIDS. That's what they're doing. They're lining up as honchos with their shotguns. They bring out the Black Panthers and say, anybody who touches Gail Burston touches all of us. You know, it's Warpo World. So the explanation for the note, we'll put it up, Hub. Blow it up 200, 300 foot, for Laney so she can sue Jimmy Cray, right? Put it up and I'll autograph it and we'll tell everyone what it says and what it was about, okay? It was about a 7-foot tall black man threatening to kill me if he didn't get to sleep in our house before we moved in. And meanwhile, they had this pornographic show going on in front of this traumatized golem. That's all it was. I was comatose. They had brain impact that left me shudder. And it had me and they thought they were saying we're going to make it into a movie and it's our movie. Aren't we neat? So evidently one of the stars of the movie with Martin Sheen was Hop Kendricks, and he doodle by me in Seattle. Isn't that something? So put it up, Hop. Put it up. You got it down at the Courier. You demanded all of the notes and minutes and seconds about me and Rosa through Wilma Coon at the office, right? You wanted to know everything we were doing back home. So you got quite a show you can put on, Hop. Down at the Video Hut. Let's put on it's a mighty train wreck for the NAACP. Woohoo! Hop Kendricks is in the Video Hut.